Okay. So yeah, as you can see, there is a lot of gunk around that. That definitely has me worried. Just don't want to get crap inside. So I'm gonna do my best to get that thing cleaned off. Maybe I'll try to leave the thermostat in place while I get most of it cleaned off. So, bit of a bummer, huh? All right, wish me luck. Making pretty good progress. Yeah, it's nice and getting clean up here. There was a pretty big chunk of gasket still down there. So I just watched another video of somebody else doing this on a Jeep, different Jeep. Not sure what it was, but you know, he pulled the thermostat out and was just scraping away with that open hole there and using a brush and whatever. I'm about to the point where I'm going to have to probably pull the thermostat, and because I can't get down underneath of it, especially I'm working around with this razor blade and I don't want to cut things. I just put a brand new serpentine belt on this, which that was the first time I've ever done that. Should have done a video. So first time for me, and change the alternator. If you can see, it's nice and shiny and new. That was, honestly, it wasn't too bad. It's pretty easy. So yeah, making pretty good progress with this. I think I'm probably gonna have to pull that thing out. The thing is, gosh, I don't know about you guys, but it looks pretty new to me. The weird thing is that gasket was so baked on there, like it feels like the gasket's been on there for, well, how old's the Jeep? Jeep's a 2002, so it's 18, 19 years. But that thermostat sure doesn't look like it's 18 or 19 years old. It looks nice and shiny and clean. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that means there's no water in the coolant or anything. I mean, maybe they never used water, so it couldn't rust or something. I don't know. Yeah, I've just seen some of these other videos where they pull them off and that thing looks really super rusted. It looks brand new to me, but what do I know? Not a mechanic. Okay, I'm gonna try to pull this puppy out now. It doesn't, there we go. That's it. Sorry, my light's way down there. That's the thermostat. So they tell you to make sure when you're pulling it out, to make sure you notice which way it came out so you can put it back in the same way, like put in the new one. This one, I think it says like up on it right there. Yeah, it says up. So I'm assuming the new one will say up as well. Otherwise, oh, there we go. There's like a whatever that is. See, there's something there on the back that shows me the top side, not the bottom side. So, all right. Well, there's the culprit. It's out. Now, I gotta clean off the rest of that gasket and try not to get gunk inside the engine. All right, I'll be back. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. Honestly, that was not too bad. Way better than the other thing, the housing. Came off way easier off the engine. I did put a clean rag in there just to try to keep debris from falling inside. I read about that on one site. So it's just a lot of junk now down there. Yeah, I don't like that. And especially some junk here on the serpentine belt. So I'm gonna try to just clean that all off. Yeah. It's always kind of interesting when you get these things kind of pulled off and see, you know, there's definitely some corrosion going on down here. The rest of the engine looks pretty good, but you know, again, I'm not a mechanic, and so some things worry me that maybe they shouldn't, and some things maybe don't worry me that maybe they should. So anybody sees that corrosion, it's hard to show you with my lamp here, but just there next to, anyway, I don't think I'll be able to get it in the shot. Just there to the right side of where the thermostat housing was. anywhere. I'm guessing that's, I don't know, is that the exhaust? Manifold that bolts on right there, kind of right where it bolts onto, right below it's just some corrosion. So yeah, anyway, there it is. Okay, so I'm gonna do some research real quick on this gasket stuff, this again, because I'm just not sure you're supposed to use them both together. I think some engines call for just a liquid gasket, which I think is what this is, and some of them call for a regular gasket, which is what this is. So yeah, I'll do some research and we'll get back. We're almost to the point of putting it back together. Okay, so here's what I come up with. I've watched a couple of videos, read a whole bunch of websites. I don't think I'm going to use this. This gasket that I have is it's kind of softer material, has this self-adhesive backing that's designed to just hold it in place. Just kind of matches up with the bolt holes, and of course I need to pop out those places. And man, I've read a couple of different things and seen a couple of different things, people using different things. Some use a sealant, some don't. Some say put it on both sides. Some say they're just putting it on so that it helps keep the gasket stay in place while you're installing it. I obviously don't need that because I have this self-adhesive backing. But I'll tell you what, I just finished reading some posts on my new favorite site that I've been using a lot since I bought good old the Goblin here is what I call him, jeepforum.com. They've helped me a ton, and there's a couple of people that were responding to someone's similar question that said you do not need sealer and a gasket. That these gaskets are designed to swell when wet, so that they will fill in any microscopic, well, not even microscopic, but any gaps, right? Small gaps, small scratches in the metal, anything like that. So you shouldn't need both. And in fact, if you put too much sealant on something that isn't really designed for, you can actually cause leaks because it'll keep this gasket from sealing appropriately. So I'm going to do that. I am going to forego using this and use this. And I don't need to use any kind of silicone or anything to get it to stay on because it has this sticker on the back. So maybe that's the right decision. Maybe that's the wrong decision. This is one of those frustrating parts, guys, about not being a mechanic, is you get so many different opinions on what's right and what's wrong. So yeah, I guess the way I figure is I'm going to give it a shot the way it is. And if it leaks, then I know. Then I can always repeat the process and put a new gasket on with sealant the next time. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use the gasket the way it is, none of this stuff on it, and see how it goes. Okay, here we go. Here we go. This is the new thermostat, and this is the old one. They don't look quite the same, generally the same, and that's fine. You know what, and I was telling you earlier that I thought, oh wow, it looks so brand new. Yeah, it doesn't. I pulled it out. Here you can get a better look at it. It's, yeah, not brand new. It's corroded and whatnot. So this one, it has that up on it, and this rivet or whatever it is at the top. Pardon me, dropping things. That, and I don't know what it is, unless it's just there to say this way up. But yeah, the new one doesn't say anything. No up, no down, no rivet. It does have some words on the side there, Motorrad. It's German. So I guess I'm just gonna put it in like this because that's the way it came out. And it's got the words on the side, so maybe that means something. I don't know. I did see one video. I'll try to post these videos and things in my description so you can get those people who have helped me can help you guys too. he kind of angled it the way the hoses were coming in. So in this one, they come in from this angle. He kind of turned it a little bit so that it didn't block any flow. Like if like that, it would block flow of the fluid, but if you turned it a little bit like that, it wouldn't block any flow. So seems logical. I'm not going to turn it too much, obviously, because it wasn't turned when I pulled it out. It was straight up and down. But then again, the thermostat wasn't functioning right. So I'm just going to maybe turn it just a little bit. So anyway, those are the frustrating things about not being really comfortable with this kind of stuff. Is I wish this looked exactly like the old one. I wish it had that rivet thing on the top. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't. I wish it said up, but it doesn't. I bought this at O'Reilly. It's a Murray thermostat. You know, it's just kind of their only option. So I walked in and said, hey, this is what I've got and this is what I need. So look, it has instructions. Allow engine to cool completely, no problem. Relieve pressure in cooling system carefully. No problem. Clamp, hose, thermostat, gasket. Yeah, that's kind of hard to understand. So, all right, well, I think the next step is to put the thermostat in there, put the gasket on. I'm going to put the gasket here on the housing because I think it'll just be easier, and then reinstall. So here we go. I hope I got everything cleaned up. Oh, I did clean everything with brake cleaner. I saw quite a bit of that. In fact, people just kind of even spraying down around there with brake cleaner. That actually really did clean up quite a bit. It looks good. I saw some people using like angle grinders and things with pads to really crazy shine everything up, but I also saw other people that didn't do that, and they just got off the gasket as much as they could and cleaned it up with a wire brush. I did take a wire brush and scrub this down really good, so it may not look super, well, the video doesn't look all that clean, but I did scrub it down really good, and the razor took it over and did a lot of work on that. So I feel like it's actually pretty good. Like I've run my fingers over, you can't really feel anything on it anymore. It's pretty smooth. I think some of this is maybe just staining that maybe, sure, if I did have an angle grinder or something like that, I could take it off, but I don't. So we're gonna go with what we got. Okay, next step, put the gasket on. Okay, so I put the gasket on the housing. It definitely was an adhesive backing. I was a little bit unsure at first because I couldn't tell. So what I did is I took one of the pieces that had to pop out and peeled it back to make sure. And yeah, sure enough. And what I really, what I've learned is that really has no benefit except for just installation. It just keeps it in place. As you can see, it doesn't fit perfect. This overlaps a little bit. This goes the other way a little bit. It's definitely not perfect. Again, I'm assuming it's good enough because, I mean, it seals all the way around where the coolant or antifreeze will be flowing, so I imagine that's good enough. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really right there, but it does seal all the way around, and this kind of overlaps a little. I don't know what kind of tolerances this is made to. I messed around and angled it as best I could, and made sure I got the holes lined up. So I'm going with this. Hope it's what it's supposed to be, and if not, I don't know what else to say, because I'm sure these things are all made by machine, with just a die stamps into it. So I'm sure there are millions of them that look just like this that don't fit. So I'm going with that. Okay, so the next is to actually put it back on. I got to put the thermostat in first, and then put this over the top and put the bolts back in before we obviously do anything else. So grab the thermostat here, and so there's a ring. There's a kind of sits down inside, and it's got some rust on it. I tried cleaning that up. I sprayed it with brake cleaner and took a wire brush to it and whatnot. So okay, so that fits in there, pretty nicely. So like that one guy said, I'm gonna just angle it a little bit that way, because when this fits on, like so, it angles that way. So I'm gonna do that and just angle it a little bit, and not too much, because I don't want to get too far away from the way it was when I pulled it out. So, but it seems like a good idea. So I'll angle it that way, and then we'll put the housing on and put the bolts back in. Okay. So there it is. Put it back on. Got the thermostat in there. I don't think you can see that, but thermostat in first. Then I put the gasket on the housing, put it back in. The long bolt on the top made it super easy to guide it in, and then small bolt down there, short bolt on the bottom. Definitely helps to use a longer ratchet, because you have to push down on the belt a little bit to be able to get it in. Okay, so I looked up the torque specs, and it's like 15 foot-pounds of torque, or 15 pound-feet, I think is actually the proper way to say that. But that's practically nothing. That's I mean, that's snug, but not really crazy tight. Almost not even needing a torque wrench. So, but just for the sake of learning, because torque wrenches were something that were new to me when I started working on cars, pardon the messy garage. We're gonna go grab one. I have a couple actually, as you can see. I have two that are like this with this needle. I don't like those ones. I like this one. This has this handle down here that you set to the proper amount, and it's just like a ratchet on the top. So, half inch probably. So we're going to use this puppy just so we can demonstrate how it works. So what you do with these, if you haven't seen one yet, if you have, you can skip over this part. They have markings on them. Sorry, I've got a headlamp on, so it's hard to get the camera and the markings to where you can see them. And even just in the video, it's hard. Anyway, so you have markings on them, and you want to make sure you're using the right ones, that you're using foot-pounds, not kilograms. So foot-pounds over here. And what you do is you spin this whole dial, so you loosen up the nut on the bottom there, or this little dial thingy. So you spin it to the tens, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, etc., etc. And then you just keep spinning a little bit past the center line there, and you can see on the dial it has the 1, 2, 3, 4s. So in this case, we'd spin the base of the dial up to 10, and then we'd spin it a little bit further until we get to 5. That matches up with the center line there. Then you screw that back down tight. So, yeah, let's see if we can do this one-handed. Nope. So, all right, now at 15. 10 is as low as this thing actually goes. So you basically, you spin it up till it gets to the bottom of the 10 line, and then you spin it past that bottom of the 10 line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, till the 5 notch matches up with that center line. Then you tighten that down. And what this will do is, as you put it on your bolt and you're tightening it, the whole thing will click when you get to the right torque. It'll clunk, click. And that's when you know you're there. You don't need to go any further. That's 15 foot-pounds or 15 pound-feet of pressure. Yeah, pretty cool little device. Sometimes you can't use these, you know, the space is so tight, but I think I'll be able to use it just fine on both of these, no problem. I was working on some torque converter bolts on a flex plate the other day. That's another project I'm getting to learn a lot about. And there was no way. There's no way I could get this thing in there. There was, you know, with the exhaust and the oil pan and everything that was up there, I just couldn't. So I did the best I could based off of memory. So, okay, let me put this together and then we'll lock it.